And we are going to start up on a rolled up blanket if you happen to have a blanket handy or something that you can makeshift. And if you don't, you can roll up your mat as well. So if you do have just traditional yoga blanket with you, so this would be the half fold, and then this is the quarter fold. So you're going to want to do that. And then you're just going to make a little burrito. And you could also just lay back. You could roll up your mat to do this. You could lay back over a bolster if you have that. And if you don't have props, no worries, just come into classic Shavasana. But if you do have this set up, you're gonna snuggle that roll up to the center of your back, and then you're gonna start to lay back here. And it's this nice little mellow thoracic opening. And then you can make a choice with your legs. Maybe you take your feet as wide as your mat, allow your knees to knock in towards each other. If it feels okay, you can extend your legs to straight, so more classic Shavasana. Notice how the toes turn out, so we're getting that external rotation. So just getting that set up and just feeling really comfortable. I'm gonna put you guys on mute now. If you have any questions as we're doing something, especially as we move into more of the yin stretches, just unmute yourself and shout at me. Good. So as you're laying over this bolster, I really want you to start to feel this opening across your heart and chest. Start to feel the shoulder blades getting really heavy. And it's almost like they're squeezing into that blanket. So they're squeezing in towards each other ever so slightly. As that begins to happen, you feel that lift of your sternum up towards the ceiling. And then find a nice deep inhale here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. And you're gonna do that a couple more times. So as many times as you need really to feel as though you're letting all of the stuff that you need to get done today, you're letting that go, anything that might be kind of weighing heavy on your mind, you're putting that aside for the next hour. You're arriving on your mat. You're making the commitment to yourself that you're going to pay attention to the physical sensations that happen in your body as we begin to move here. You're going to start to notice the thoughts that come up. And you're also going to start to connect with your breath here. So we begin to find that rhythm of our Ujjayi breath. So that victorious breath, that inhale through the nose, that exhale through the nose. It has that Darth Vader sound. So you are constricting the back of the throat a little bit. And this breath has this beautiful focusing quality. It gives us something to bring our attention to. The sound of the breath is very calming. It also starts to build a little heat inside of our bodies, which is nice, especially we want that as we're going to be moving into some deeper stretches the last half of class today. Your attention is going to get distracted by things, sounds happening inside the room, the space that you're in. So when you notice that your attention has gone there, you just come back to the breath. You're also going to get distracted by thoughts. You're going to think about the things that you need to do, the stuff that might be stressing you out. So same thing, just smile when you notice that your attention has gone there. Come back to your breath. So we might only get a second or two of this stillness, this quiet. But as we get better at focusing our attention, building this mindfulness muscle, we start to string more of those moments together. So if your legs are extended straight, go ahead and just bring them a little closer together, activate them. If your knees are bent, extend the legs to straight. So think as though you're standing on your legs, and then sweep the arms out nice and wide. So it's like you're making a little snow angel. And in fact, let's just do that a couple more times. If there's space, if that's not happening where you're at, you could also just reach arms up and over. So just different ways of getting into the shoulder girdle here. And you can play with both and get curious. Notice how it feels in your body. So do that a couple more times. And then you're eventually going to reach. So toes point up towards the ceiling, palms face towards each other. Good. As you exhale, release your hands by your side. Welcome, Adria. And I think maybe it's Pamela. I'm not sure. Good. Did I get it right? Yeah. There's 2 V Islanders today. We'll take all we can get. Go ahead and roll off to your right side here. Just come into the fetal position for a moment. And let's go ahead and extend that right arm out perpendicular from the right shoulder. You might find that you need to rest your head on a blanket or a block here. So it's like you have a little crocodile nose. Maybe squeeze your knees in a little tighter. And then as we inhale, we're going to stretch that left arm up and over. So coming into this nice gentle twist. And this might be a good place to slide a blanket or a block underneath that left shoulder. So especially if you're a little tighter in the shoulders, the chest, that is often true for guys. They just have bulkier muscles. Give yourself a little support. And then take really nice deep breaths. So really try to expand the rib cage on that inhale. Notice how 3-dimensional it is. And then you're listening to your neck here. You might just be looking straight up at the ceiling. If it feels okay, you start to turn onto that left cheek, gazing out over your left fingertips. And that's going to give you a nice stretch through the right side of the neck. And of course, neck, shoulders hold so much tension. So this can be really intense. So don't overdo it. Less is more. Good. Let's take a nice deep inhale. Stretch out through your fingertips a little more so you're widening across the backs of the shoulders. And then as you exhale, bring that left palm back on top of your right palm. Just pause there a moment. And then you're going to roll onto that left side. So setting up for the second side. So knees squeezing in any amount. Again, it might feel really nice to just have a little support underneath your head here. Reaching that right arm out perpendicular to the shoulder, and then right palm just rests on top. And then take a nice deep inhale. Use that inhale to help float that right arm up and over. You're making a rainbow. And then settle in here, several breaths. Sliding something underneath that right shoulder if it's lifting up off the mat a lot. If it's close, you don't need to worry about that as we breathe here. As you start to get this opening across those pectoral muscles, it's going to start to release down. And then again, you just might be looking up at the ceiling, so pressing into the back of the center of your head. Maybe you start to roll onto that right cheek, gazing out over your right fingertips. And then really soak up that sound of your breath, that inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. So we always need to be reminded of this. The attention does wander. We get distracted. So we're always coming back to that breath. Good, nice deep inhale, fill up, expand across your heart and chest. And then as you exhale, bring your right palm on top of your left palm. Pause here a moment. And then very gently, you're gonna press up to your tabletop position. So we're gonna set up for some cat-cow here. So just land with your shoulders over your wrists, fingers spreading a lot. So imagine that your hands are little duck feet. So there's webbing between each finger and you wanna spread out that webbing as far as you can. As you do that and you start to press evenly into all 10 knuckles, notice how the upper arms turn on. So we're already finding downward facing dog arms. Lower belly is gently pulling in and up. Your hips over your knees. As you inhale, find that arch in your lumbar. It might be really tiny starting out. As you exhale, move in the opposite direction. Press the mat away. Let the back of your neck lengthen. Inhaling, arching. Exhaling, rounding in. Close your eyes here if they're not already. And then just start to find your rhythm. And bring your attention to your spine. Looks good, Laura. Looks good, Pamela. Especially as you come into the cat stretch, really try to let the back of the neck release. It's hard to do, but see if you can move in that direction. See if you can find a way where you're just getting a little more extension and release. Good, a couple more rounds. As you inhale, come back to your neutral spine. Walk your hands forward a couple of inches. Curl your toes under. Shift your hips up towards the ceiling. Stretch those sit bones. Good, and then you're gonna probably wanna keep a little bend in your knees. And in fact, let's just find that bend. Come up onto tippy toes and then just very gently pedal back and forth. So warming up the back of the leg. Sometimes starting out in this first downward dog, it feels nicer to have the feet a little wider apart than hips distance. So you could play with that. See how it changes where you're getting the stretch as you take these little pedals back and forth. Good, and then let's walk our feet to hips distance apart. You might keep that bend in your knees. And in fact, let's all do it a little bit. Notice how you can really start to stretch those sit bones up towards the ceiling. And then just peek at your little duck feet. Make sure those fingers are spreading. You're pressing evenly. If you're hyper flexible, a little tiny micro bend in your elbows is actually going to help you to engage those arm muscles a little more. Good, and then you're letting the neck release. And in fact, let's just nod no. And then nod yes. And then just let that cervical spine lengthen. So your gaze is soft and gentle between your feet. And then we start to walk our hands back to meet our feet. So again, you might have this really nice deep bend in your knees here. As you inhale, you could be on fingertips on floor or hands on shins or thighs. I recommend that. As you exhale, you fold in. Couple more like that. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, gazes forward, shoulder heads press back, shoulder blades squeeze in. As you exhale, you fold. Put your brain in your feet. You want to feel the arches lift. So you're pressing to the four corners. Exhale, you're folding in. And then this time press down into your feet. Reach arms out and up. So coming to your Tadasana, mountain pose. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Just glance down at your feet really quick before we start to move into our half sun salutes. Second toes pointing forward. They're about hips distance apart. You're welcome to stand with your feet closer if that feels better in your body. All right, here we go. Inhale, stretching up. As you exhale, fold in. Let the back of the neck lengthen. Inhale, chest extends forward. Gaze comes forward. Shoulder heads press back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, feel that lift in your arches as you reach arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Good, inhaling, reaching up. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. This looks great, Barry. Inhale, extend Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold back in. Inhale, root into your feet, stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. You have 2 more full rounds. I encourage you to close your eyes and then just move with your breath here and maybe go slower than you think you can. So really stretch these out. Really feel graceful as you move here. Be really deliberate about each of these poses. Maybe even observing how there's this slight pause of the breath, slight pause of the pose before we move on to the next. Maybe just noticing how good these feels. Like there's this immediate response in your body and in your brain. And you're just pausing with your palms together at your heart when you're done with that second round, checking in, noticing how you're feeling, hopefully a little taller, a little lighter, a little sense of joy here. We're gonna add on. So exhale, release hands by your side, palms face forward. Inhale, stretch up. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Good, inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward, keep looking forward, bend knees, plant palms, spread fingers, right foot back, then left. Let's take a few breaths here in our not in our downward dog, our plank pose. This is much harder than downward dog. Shoulders are stacking over wrists. You're widening across the backs of your shoulders, so you're feeling those shoulder blades squeeze in. Gaze slightly forward, neck nice and long. Use your legs a little more than you think you can. So press the top of the thigh up towards the ceiling without lifting your booty. Good, and then shift way forward on your toes. You have the option to come to your knees slowly, slowly, slowly. Start to bend those elbows. They squeeze in. Everything touches down at the same time. Lengthening back through all 10 toes. As you inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Exhale, roll down. So just a tiny little back bend here, warming up those muscles in the lower back. So be really gentle about this. Inhale, Bhujangasana, low cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, up. Take your arms out wide, keep your heart and chest lifted. Spin your palms to face behind you. So you could just reach here like this, energize the fingers. You might be able to interlace fingers. So we just get into the shoulders a little more here. If you have that variation, you're dragging your knuckles towards your heels. Maybe just tuck the chin a little bit. So again, you're keeping the nice lengthening through the back of your neck. Good, take arms out wide again. Exhale, come back to where you were. So you could just be here. Interlace fingers the opposite way. So the way that feels funny. It's hard to remember. It's okay if you end up doing the same side twice. It'll destroy the rest of your week, but it's okay. All right, arms come out wide here. As you exhale, fingertips come back underneath your shoulder head. So you take a couple of breaths here in your low cobra. If you're ready for up dog, drag the hands back a lot. Check to see that your wrist is underneath your elbow. Activate the legs. Inhale, press arms to straight. Press into the tops of the feet. So your shins, your knees, your thighs are lifting up the mat here. If that's not happening, lower back down. Good, nice deep inhale, fill up. Exhale, roll over toes. Downward facing dog. Deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And then we're gonna inhale, lift our right leg up. Exhale, shift forward, knee to nose. Stay here, and then climb that right knee to the outer right arm, or in that direction, come back to center. And then cross, so a little twist. Keep breathing, keep smiling. Back to center. Inhale, stretch back, three-legged dog. Exhale, step forward, walk your right foot off to the right. Spin into the back edge of your left foot. We're checking to see that our right heel is intersecting our left arch. Grab a block, have it behind that right foot, so the outer edge, and then we're gonna inhale, windmill arms up and over, warrior two. So nice little standing hip opener here. So we're not trying to square the hips. This left hip is releasing down. So you might even turn that back foot in a little more, but you do wanna feel like you're pressing this right thigh back behind you. And then let's just flow into this a little bit. So as you inhale, press the inner edge of that front foot, lift arms up overhead, exhale in. Good, inhale. Exhale in. Inhale up here. Final one, exhale. Coming in to your Virabhadrasana 2. Okay, so spin that right palm to face up. Lightly reach that left hand down that back leg. Reverse your warriors. Right arm comes up and over. You're wrapping these left ribs up towards the ceiling. Legs stay in warrior two. Inhale. Find your warrior two. And then as we exhale, we're gonna shift forward. Think triangle pose in your upper body. Elbow to your knee, or maybe you take your fingertips to the block behind that foot. If you are there in that variation, you're gonna squeeze this right knee into that upper arm. And then spin that top palm to face forward. Reach that arm up and over. Maybe begin to bring your gaze up, and you're gonna feel that burn in that inner right thigh. Gonna feel that hip opening. Stay with it. Notice if you're gripping those right toes, stop. Trust that gravity is keeping you in place, so press into the four corners of the feet instead. All right, here we go. Inhale. Back to warrior two. Exhale, sink in a little deeper. Oof. And then take an inhale here. As you exhale, you windmill your arms up and over. So Chaturanga Vinyasa if you'd like. If you want to do it with that right leg lifted, cool. Just make sure you put those toes down before you come into your back bend. So we're back bending nice and even. Good, and then from your downward facing dog, take a nice steep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. So we know where we're going. As you inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, shift forward, curling knee to nose. So stay here, crawl that left knee to the upper left arm, come back to center, and then twist, try to get it, do better than me. Come back to center. Inhale, stretch back, three-legged dog. As you exhale, step that left foot through, walk it to the right, spin into the back edge of your right foot. We are heel to arch. You're already sinking in nice and deep in this front leg. Arms come up and over. Virabhadrasana 2. So nice little standing hip opener. You're letting this right hip release down. Observe if the shoulders are creeping up around your ears, soften them. And then we move a little bit here. Inhale, press to the inner edge of that left foot to straighten the leg. Exhale in. Good, inhale up. Exhale in. Good, inhaling up. And then exhale in, Virabhadrasana 2. A few breaths here. You can bring your gaze out over those left fingertips. So the gaze is soft and gentle. The jaw, the face, soft and gentle. And that's hard to do sometimes when we're in these challenging, strong poses. So we start to clench everything. All right, so keep your legs exactly like this, maybe even going a little deeper. Spin that left palm to face up towards the ceiling. We find our reverse warrior, nice and light, reaching down that back leg. So you're getting this gorgeous lateral stretch on the left side of your body. As you find that, continue to wrap those right ribs up. Legs stay nice and strong. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 2. And then think triangle pose in your upper body. Hinge at that left hip. Stretch, 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 reach. Elbow to knee, hand to block. Few of us might get those fingertips to the floor. They are all good. So starting out, shoulder blades stack on top of each other. Press vigorously into the back edge of your right foot. Press to the inner edge of your left foot and then draw that knee into that upper arm. And then spin, right palm forward. Reach, stretch, energize the fingers. And so now we have this lateral stretch through the right side. Maybe spin your gaze up underneath. Good. Stay in the legs. Inhale up. And then as you exhale, windmill arms up and over. Palms plant. Chaturanga Vinyasa if you'd like. You can skip these. Take a downward dog if that feels better. Take a child's pose if that's what you need. Good. Nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out. Ha. As you inhale, a little bend in your knees, come to your tippy toes, peek where you're going. End of your exhale, you can spring forward or step right then left. Inhale, chest lengthens. Exhale, fold in. So this time as you inhale, knees bend, arms reach up. Ooh, Katasana, chair pose. Couple of breaths. So don't be shy. Sinking nice and low. The weight is in the heels. Sometimes we really overarch in our lower back. So pull your belly button towards those back ribs. A few of us might gaze up. Press palms. And then press the legs to straight. Hands come together at your heart. We're going to do one more little kind of modified Surya Namaskara, a B with a little warrior dance in the mix. So you're at the top of the mat. Take a couple of breaths. And you're feeling all the good heat in your body. So soak that up. Inhale, knees bend, arms reach. As you exhale, hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. As you exhale, bend knees, plant palms, left foot back, then right. Pull back, downward dog, or take a Chaturanga Vinyasa if you would like, being very meticulous, distinct about the poses. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through. This time we come into our warrior one. So spin into the back edge of that right foot, or left foot rather, as you seal there. Take a deep bend in your right knee, rise up. So hips are trying to face forward. As we exhale, we transition warrior two. So hands come to heart center. Walk right foot off to the left. Maybe give yourself a little more space. Inhale, reverse your warrior. As you exhale, find that extended side angle pose. Your elbow might be on your knee. Inhale up. Exhale, hands come up and over. Spin onto that left foot. Options, downward dog, Chaturanga Vinyasa. Good. As you inhale, your left leg lifts. As you exhale, use your belly to help step that foot through. Good, so spin into the back edge of your right foot. Inhale, rise up, Virabhadrasana one, really nice. You're trying to square your hips and then open up. So hands come to heart center. Adjust your feet, so walk the left foot to the right. Good, inhale, reverse your warrior, so reach down that back leg. Lovely, these look great. As you exhale, find that extended side angle pose. So elbow to knee or fingers to block. Inhale back, Virabhadrasana 2. Oh, gorgeous warrior dances. As you exhale, hands come up and over. Final vinyasa here if you want it. And if you don't, skip it. Good, once you make your way back to your downward dog, take a deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, let the breath go, ha. And then we're gonna come in to child's pose. And we're gonna do a nice long hold here. And I'd like for you to go a little wider with your knees today. So if you do have a bolster, this is gonna be really, really nice to have, or you could stack up a couple of blankets. Some of the ladies that are a little more flexible, you may not need one. But so big toes together and then take the legs quite a bit wider. So if you have the bolster, you're gonna start to lay down here. And you're gonna start to feel more of a stretch the inner thigh. And I'm gonna actually time this. We're gonna be here for a few minutes. So that being said, as we move into this more yin stretchy part of class, maybe you need to back out. So We really want to do the poses right, be good students, kind of go for it, especially for those of us that are more flexible. If you're tighter, you have boundary built into your body, so there's only so far you can go, so listen to that. But if you tend to be a little more flexible here, maybe back out a little bit, and then you're gonna allow yourself to melt in. And at this stage of the game, you are more than welcome to continue with that Ujjayi breath. Again, it does help to build some heat in the body. It also gives us that sound to focus on, which can be really nice. If it feels better in your body to continue that inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose, but without that effort, you are welcome to move in that direction as well. So this yin practice is different than our restorative practice in the sense that we are trying to move in a little more. And we kind of do that in layers. And it's really interesting because these stretches can get really intense, especially as we hold them. So things in our body start to grip. So I really want you to pay attention to the places where that happens. And sometimes it is literally the face, the jaw, like we start to clench our jaw a little bit when things are feeling intense. So soften there. And of course, if there is ever any sensation that feels like pain, you back out a lot, or you unmute yourself and let me know what's going on. And we find a different variation. Okay, so we have about another minute here. My ladies who are a little more flexible, if you would like to turn this more into a frog pose, you're gonna roll up off your bolster. You're gonna take the legs out wide so that the toes point forward, and you might even slide your knees a little further apart. And then you start to melt down. You could rest your forehead on a block. You could still have the bolster underneath you. If you go there and was like, ooh, that was more than I thought, just come back to that really wide-legged child's pose. Can you let go somewhere? Can you melt in a little more? Can you feel those hips stretch back? One more deep inhale here. And then you're gonna slowly, slowly, slowly start to roll on up. Just bring your knees in, and you might find that it feels really good to just sit back here, extend the legs, give them a little shake out. All right, so we're gonna come into some pretty intense shoulder and neck stretches here, and I'm gonna give you variations in case this doesn't work, but do grab a blanket or a block, and that is gonna go at the top of your mat, and we're gonna come down onto our belly here. And also, as you're laying here, you might find that you want a little more padding underneath your body. So if you have another blanket handy, you could spread that out on your mat. Okay, so just go ahead and rest your forehead down on the blanket. And then you're gonna come up onto your right fingertips, and you're gonna take your right arm. So we've done this stretch before, we just don't hold it quite as long. Let me give you this angle here. So left arm is coming out perpendicular to your shoulder. You might even be angling that down if you know that you're a little bit tighter. All right, so you're on these left fingertips. You're gonna start to flip to your side. So a couple options here. From here, you might start to bend your knees in, and you're just pinning that left shoulder down, so it can be quite intense. For some of us, this feels a little easier. So you'll start to flip that left leg over, right leg over, and then extend that lower leg to straight. Good. A few of us might play with reaching this top arm up and then just leaning it back. We're going to be here a couple of minutes. So if you do have that arm extended and you need to take a break, you can do that. So, couple minutes here. Lot of pressure on the ear, that left side of the neck, and then that left arm and shoulder. So back out a little bit if you need to. And of course, the best variation, if this is really, really challenging, is some height underneath your head and then knees just bent in. And that's going to take some of that off. And you're listening to your breath, whether that's your Jai breath or just a nice, steady breath. You're getting curious about the sensations that are happening in your body. And you're figuring out how you can stay in these poses, in these long holds. It's uncomfortable, it's challenging. We start to grip. So again, get curious about those places where you might be holding on, using muscles that you don't need to. Probably got about 5 or 6 more breaths here. So if you're at a place where you feel like you want to go a hair deeper, open up that chest a little more, you are welcome to do so. Good, and then you're gonna slowly, slowly, slowly make your way out of that side. And then we're gonna set up for the second side, but just take a couple of breaths here with your forehead on your blanket. Maybe it will feel good to extend your arms by your side. And then we do that second side. So you're reaching your right arm out perpendicular. So that's going to be intense. If you know you're tighter in the neck and shoulders, you're going to angle to about 45 degrees there. Bend your right fingertips. It's like you're coming up, you have lizard hands here. So that right elbow is lifted up. And then to start, just begin to roll onto that right hip. So knees bent, you just might stay here as you pin that right shoulder down. If you know that you can go a little deeper and you want to get more stretch here in the lower body, lower back area, you can start to flip that left leg up and over and then maybe extend that right leg. And then start to stretch that top arm up if that feels good. You might need little breaks as you do that. And we've got a couple minutes here on this side, which may be an entirely different experience. So we all have different injuries. Anatomically, we're built different. So it's not unusual for things to feel quite different side to side. I need a different word for different. Notice if you've started to hold your breath at all. Use your breath here. Just visualize it going into the spots that are tight, just sort of opening up the muscles, the fascia. So the fascia is this like really, it's almost like this cobwebby structure in our body. And we want to keep all of that really supple. I want to keep it moving. And just notice how when we're in these long held intense poses like this, it's this fine line between getting into the stretch, feeling it, getting some sensation, but then overdoing it. So you're navigating that line. You're figuring out what that looks like in your body. Great work, guys. We've got about, 2 or 3 more really good breaths here. Kind of lean in a little bit if that feels right for you. Good, and then start to unwind here. Maybe take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth. Sigh the breath out. Ha. So next we're going to come into what is called crushed wing pose. And you might want to roll up just a little bit. We're going to be doing this on our belly as well, but I'm going to just show you what is happening in the arms. So it's very much like our Garudasana arms, our eagle arms, where we're holding each other, except that we're going to be pinning them down as we lay down. So I'm going to just show you what that looks like. Again, you want to have a blanket here. So you're going to kind of, I find it helps to like make a little square with your arms, and then you're going to start to reach off to the side any amount. And I actually am going to need a little more height. So it's this incredibly intense stretch through the upper outer arms. If that is not happening in your body, you could simply come to seated. So comfortable seat. And then you're just going to take this wrap with your arms. So elbows will lift. Shoulder blades release down your back. So find the place that feels best for you. We're going to be here for a couple of minutes. So again, maybe back out a little bit if you need to. Give your head more height if you need to. And then key into that sound of your breath. Use your breath to help you navigate the intensity of this pose and the holds. Maybe even bring a little attention to your legs here. So maybe find a little activeness there. So those inner thighs rolling up as you lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Again, always backing out a little bit if you need to. There's like no bonus points for staying in something that's absolutely awful and hurting your body. And then maybe see if you can squeeze those shoulder blades in towards each other. As that happens, you're going to get a little more lift of the shoulder heads. Got about 30 seconds here. So you might find that you can lower your forehead a little bit, depending upon where you started. Good, nice deep inhale. You're gonna start to make your way out. And again, kind of just, it's almost as though you're like holding elbows, so forearms are stacking on top of each other. And then switch the cross. Thank God we only have 2 arms and we're not doing an octopus situation. It's the same thing. Start to melt in. Notice how this side feels different. Go a little less at the beginning. So we're here for a couple of minutes. You have time to get into this pose, to explore it. to notice how the side is feeling differently. Using your breath a lot here. So even though this is really challenging and uncomfortable, we can do hard things. I'm in love with this quote right now from Frida Kahlo. And whenever I'm wearing my Frida Kahlo shirt, I feel that I have to share this with you. And I think it's very apropos to what we're doing right now, this intense yin, these uncomfortable holds. So she says, nothing is absolute. Everything changes, everything moves, everything revolves, everything flies and goes away. So we're always in flux. It's always shifting. That's true in our yoga practice. Every day that we come to our mat, it looks a little different. Our headspace is a little different. Our bodies feel different. We can spend a lot of time trying to fight that or change it or make it look like this thing that we think it needs to look like, instead of just being good with where we're at and enjoying that and enjoying how this is a really fluid experience. We are there. So you start to make your way out. And then again, just kind of stack forearms, press shoulder heads back. And then we're going to start to come on up. So we are going to get into the hips here, and I'm going to give you a couple different options. So we're going to do our eagle pose legs, kind of just to match those arms that we did. So you might need to sit up on something if you're a little tighter, and this variation might not work for you, so I'm going to give you another one. But essentially, we're stacking these on top of each other. And today I want you to bring your heels pretty close to your hips. And this is just a really nice hip stretch. It gets into a different place than we usually get into. So I would like for you to rest your forehead on something. That might mean that you have a bolster, couple of blocks stacked up. So if this is like, awful JB, I can't do it, you're gonna come onto your back as an option. And then you can cross the legs there, and then maybe just gently pull the shins towards you any amount. So you're getting the same stretch there. Finally, if you are close to a wall, you could do that same thing at the wall, and it's nice because it gives you some feedback and you don't have to worry about stretching up. So the hardest part is just getting snuggled in, but you can essentially take the legs out wide and then just press the outer edges of the feet into the wall as the knees stack on top of each other. So that's a really great variation too. So you figure out where you want to be. You notice what knee is on top here. Couple of minutes. Really focus on sending that breath to your outer hips, and then also use that breath to really help you lengthen your spine. If you tend to be a little more flexible, so women are definitely more flexible in the hips, you can squeeze those outer hips in just so you're approaching this pose with some stability instead of really just jamming into the joints here. And again, this is intense. It's uncomfortable. Can you be here though? And can you get curious about where you're feeling these sensations? Can you notice if you're holding on and gripping in places that you don't need to? Can you soften in those spots? And it's hard to navigate that. It can take a lot of years on the mat kind of noticing these things about ourselves. But it does start to happen. Get these little hits of intuition and inspiration. Probably about 5 or 6 more really good breaths here. Maybe you can melt in a micromillimeter more. Maybe you melt out a micromillimeter more. It's always okay to move in that direction as well. Good. Start to roll on up. And again, just peek to see which knee was on top in whichever variation you were in. Again, if you are seated here, you are bringing your heels pretty closer to your hips. It's going to make it a little more accessible, especially for this really long hold. And then for 2 minutes, you explore this side. You get curious about what's happening in your body. If you're close to the floor, resting your forehead on a block or a bolster. If you're not close to the floor, you could be resting your head on a chair here. So lots of great options. And just using these first few moments to assess, to notice, how is this side different? If you're seated here, is one sit bone getting a little lighter than the other? Can you find that anchoring? Use that anchoring to help you just approach this stretch. Come back to your breath if you've lost that thread. Another good deep inhale here, and then a full exhale. And then you're going to slowly make your way on out. Good. So if you're on your back, hug knees into your chest. If you were seated, just give the legs a little shake out here. And we are going to make our way into our final resting pose, Shavasana. So that might look classic today, just laying back, no props. It might be nice to end with that variation that we started class with. So if you have that roll up and that felt good to you, can snuggle that to the center of your back. And then you start to lay back here. And if you're taking this variation, snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you, and then maybe try to remember what it felt like doing this at the beginning of class. So everything was a lot tighter. We've stretched out the shoulders, the neck a lot. We've stretched out the hips. So maybe you're getting a little more release. Perhaps there's a greater sense of ease. So enjoy where you're at. And then just melt in here for a few moments. Shavasana. Let your next inhale be deeper. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. And start to bring a little movement back to your body. Yawn, stretch, wiggle fingers, toes. Start to bring your attention back to your body. Just noticing any physical sensations. And then you're very gently going to roll to one side or the other, just finding the fetal position, pausing there a moment. Staying soft and quiet, using your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat. Checking in one final time here, observing how you feel differently than when we began. Just enjoying the space you've created in your spine, in your body. Enjoying that depth, that steadiness of the breath. And just observing how when the body and breath are working together, it has this beautiful calming quality on the mind. It stills the mind, even if it's just for quick little seconds at a time. Helps us to focus the mind. We also start to feel a little sense of joy and gratitude. So finally, just promise yourself that you're going to carry this feeling you've worked so hard to create with you into the rest of the day, the rest of the week ahead. Place your palms in a pile on top of your heart. And just bow your head with a smile. Terrific work today. Thank you.